You stupid bitch. Yeah, you're a stupid bitch. You stupid bitch.
Hi, stupid bitch. How are you? It's been
Hi.
a long time between drinks, not?
Far too long, actually. It's good because I got to finish that before I get on the next bottle for this
Hurry up.
episode.
Skull, 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 skull. There we go. Down
Hi,
the
stupid
hatch.
bitch. How are you? It's so good to see you. I'm wearing the same top as last week.
Oh my God, fancy that I'm wearing the same top as last week.
Well, it's all about fucking conserving water, right?
And not showering.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, is that still your first bottle?
No, I've just opened the second.
You're a
But
liar, skull.
no, honestly, I've just poured in from the new bottle. I'd only had this much from the first. I can't drink like you can on the reds. Come on. I'll be slathering if I had a whole
Now,
bottle before. If I had a whole bottle in that first episode and had to just crack another one, I would be blind. I would not be making any sense whatsoever. You're a machine.
I'm just accustomed to the red.
Exactly. So what are you drinking, pray tell, stupid bitch who doesn't know where
Oh,
Maryland is?
well, Maryland, I believe it's a state in Nevada, right? I am drinking another bottle from that whole
Had to go to
BWS.
BWS, not in
Get
your
the
wine
app.
rack situation. We've heard the story before. Come on,
Well, I'm
please.
drinking another one of those specials, and it's a Krondorf from the
Condor.
Barossa. It's another
Barossa.
Cab Sav, and it says vintage 2022.
Oh
That's a
my
2-yearer.
God.
It's in 1847, the people of Krondorf
Snore.
began a wine industry that
Snore.
helped lay the foundation for what the Barossa is today. So you can thank all your fucking Barossa wines on the Krondorf, bitch.
Krondorf, bitch.
Bitch. Hang on, let me
What's a
taste it.
Krondorf?
I just told you
Rude.
what the Krondorf
It's
was. The
rude.
story of the Krondorf
Sounds like
Crown
something from
Village
Game of Thrones.
began in 1847 with 121
The
settlers.
name of dragon.
Small family plots of grapevines and their values of love, faith, and
Snore.
hope. Love, faith, and hope, you
Just
stupid
drink
bitch.
it.
It's delicious. It tastes like wine after
Happiness in
having
your
a
mouth.
bottle of red wine previously.
Grapes.
So, what are you drinking, you dumb whore?
Well, you're not going to believe this, you dumb whore. It's another one from Coonawarra.
Oh, shut up.
Fucking Warra.
It's the same fucking
What are
bottle,
the
isn't it?
chances? No, it's called Punter's Corner. It reminds me a little
Oh,
bit of you and Vinny because now you're massive big punters.
hashtag sports
Love
bets
your bets. It's a Cab Sav, and guess what year it is?
2024.
That's 2020.
Oh, shut up. You've gone
Yeah,
proper
it's
vintage.
not even a toddler. It's almost getting ready for prep. That's what
It
it's
is.
doing.
It's in kindergarten at
Yeah,
least.
it's normally it's almost a kindergartner. Well, no, it's a 4-year-old. So yeah, it's well, Link went to
In there.
he went to prep when he was 4.
I was in kindy from 2.
Oh God, you
I had
mean
a working
daycare?
mother. Well, it was called childcare, but they used to call it a kindy. Oakland Street. Do you know Oakland Street Kindergarten?
Oh yes, remind me where that is.
Opposite Alex Hill Shopping Centre, behind the BP, Oakland Street. It's sort of, you know where Alex Hill Shopping Centre
Oh
is on the corner?
yes, I know that.
Comes
Why do I
off.
know that? So because it's not the one that Beck
Someone
used to
lived
work
there.
at. She used to work at Rose Rainbow, and that was the one at the top of the high school street. And you used to walk through there, and then you could cut through the flower farm, or
Ah,
Kylie's
yes,
parents'
yes,
flower
yes. I
farm, go
know
up the
that one.
back. So she worked at that. But someone I knew worked at Oakland Street. I'm sure they did because I remember
Yeah.
going there to pick them up. I can't remember who it was. God, I've known a lot of people. Anyway,
Just so popular.
I know it's hard being
Was
this
that,
popular. I tell
was that
you.
your ass?
No, it's mostly fart, fart,
It just
fart.
did it as you did that again. Was.
Be some stinker if it was. Who am I kidding? All my farts are stinkers. Yeah, so that's what I'm drinking. So how's your week been, stupid
Well, do you want
bitch?
to introduce the podcast at all?
Oh
Or
shit, of course. So this week it's my favorite
well, this
pop
is
culture.
what is it though?
Oh, welcome to this week's episode of Stupid Bitches Say What, the
What?
podcast about everything and nothing, but always with wine and beer or some other type of alcoholic liquid.
Beverage.
And your host, Sean Stupid Bitch Hipkins.
And Sky Lee Dumb Whore Collette.
Fuck you. Anyway, now we're done with that. How's your week been? Tell us
Week's
something
been-
exciting.
The week's been good. I've got a little two things to talk about.
Two.
So I've been watching. I found a new show, comedy show that I was watching on Apple TV Plus, and I don't really go on Apple TV much, but we get it because we get the whole family package with Apple Music and
Sure.
shit like that.
Great story.
It's called Loot, the TV show,
Mm.
and it stars none other than Maya Rudolph. Rudolph?
I love her.
I fucking love her too.
I love her more.
I love her more than you because I know about this show Loot, and there's 2 seasons of it. So I started watching it, and it's a comedy, 20-minute episodes.
Mm.
And I'm going to tell you something about this show that you would have seen already, but probably not known that it was connected to this show. But before I get to that, I'll give you a little synopsis.
Mm.
So after divorcing her husband of 20 years, and her husband is from Parks and Rec.
Which one?
He's also in Big Little Lies.
Oh, not the one that marries Leslie.
The little
Adam Scott.
weedy guy.
I love him. I love him.
He's her husband. So she divorces him after 20 years. Her name is Molly Novak. And he's a big high-tech businessman, earns a shit ton of money.
Adam Scott as John Novak. Yeah, sure is.
So after she divorces him, she must figure out what to do with her $87 billion settlement.
Whoa.
She decides to re-engage with her charitable foundation that she forgot she founded and reconnect with the real world, and finds herself along the way. But when they first divorce, she's got this assistant, this gay guy, and you just see them just fucking. She just cuts loose and fucking has all these parties in Mexico. Then she's in another country doing shit. And she's like, oh my God, I feel so young and great. What is that? And he's like, that's the ecstasy. And she's like, wow, this is amazing. She has big yachts and all this shit. So she's this sort of fucking billionaire's wife. Now she's got the fortune. She gets brought into this charity that she forgot she founded years ago. And she starts controlling it. And as I said, finds herself along the way. It's funny. It's kind of, what do you call it? Predictable sitcom-y sort of thing of
I love
that
shows though.
Yeah.
Love
it's
that.
easy, it's funny, and it's hilarious. Now, you know that show Hot Shots, where the guy interviews celebrities while they're eating wings?
Oh, yes.
And there's that really good one of Jennifer Lawrence, and she's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And he's like, this next one's hotter. Have you seen the one he does with Maya Rudolph?
I have.
And she's
I
drinking
love
fucking
it.
milk with beer.
And she just starts swearing at him.
That's from the show. So that's her character in this show. She does this thing where
she's talking about her divorce. I actually thought she'd
Yes.
divorced from the guy that she's got a few kids.
That's
I think she's got
what
3
I
or 4
thought.
kids. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Me too. So when I first watched it, I thought it was real life, but it's actually a clip from the
No.
sitcom. Yeah, so that's all part of that. So she was meant to do all these promo tours to sort of advertise the charity and all this shit, but she cancels it. She's like, no, I'm not doing any of those. I'm going on this other thing that's really hot right now, and it's the Hot Shots episode. And she's like, fuck you, Jared, fuck you. And then she's pouring milk into the beer, and she's abusing the beer person. She's like, just bring me more beer, and blah, blah, blah. That's actually a segment from the comedy. I was watching it, I'm like, that's hilarious. So give it a crack. Do you have Apple TV? You probably don't, do you?
Yeah, no, we do. We've had them all. We're supposed to get rid of them, but we haven't.
Yeah, same.
I love the hot wings one with Paul Rudd, where he's like, and there's so many memes about, look at us, look at the two of us.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Look at us go. And they're losing their shit as they're eating the fucking hotter and hotter one.
Yeah.
So she eats the first one. She's like, fuck me, rah, rah, rah. And he goes, try the next one. It's hotter. And she's like, what do you mean it's hotter? She gets up and she's abusing him. But all this ends up making the media of her just sitting there swearing and sweating and shit. It's very good. Other thing I was going to say is we've got a busy few weekends coming up ahead of us. Eurovision, which will be well and truly
Mm.
over by the time this podcast airs.
It will. It will.
Vinny and I have a trip to Sydney after that, and then we have Twin Towns for some stupid
Mm.
bitch's birthday.
Oh, whose birthday is that?
You're a stupid bitch, and
Yeah,
that's the
celebration
weekend
of me,
after
my
that.
favorite kind.
I know. That's what I like to say about. I like to talk about me. It's a topic I know most about. Um, but this episode, I think, drops a Tuesday after Twin Towns. So let's pretend that it's already happened and discuss how fab it was.
Oh my God, it's going to be utter debauchery.
Yes. Very hungover.
And so Link and Mia are coming. So my son and his
Very
girlfriend are
cool.
coming.
Have
So
you
I
booked all
paid
your
for them. It's
accommodations?
all booked, all done. Mum and Dad
Good.
got a king suite because they'd run out of king room. So I thought about getting a king suite, but the only difference was that the bed is actually in a room. So you have a
Why don't you
bedroom.
get your mother to sleep in your room and you sleep in the King's Suite, seeing as
No.
it's your birthday?
No, we've been in the king room, which we got, and it was perfect for us. It's
Mm.
lovely. It's got a king bed. We don't need it to be in a room. I think that was the only difference between that and the suite. The veranda that we had in the king room was perfect. We had water views. I might do a cheeky little call down to them and be like, "It's my birthday. Can you make sure that I get
A
ocean
high floor
views,
room.
please?
Yeah.
Please, please." For Link and Mia, I just got them a queen room.
A studio. A
I'm
bed
paying
sit.
for it. I'm paying for it for 2 nights plus.
Totally.
We're very lucky.
You could sleep in the car.
So there's a lot of us going. There's quite a few peeps.
It is going to be a very good weekend. It's kind of
Yes.
a make do 40th for you,
It
wasn't it?
is, yes. Well, that's what I thought.
Even though you're much older than 40 now. Much, much
No,
older.
I'm not. Don't look a day over 28.
Yeah.
But when we went in January, and we hadn't really touched on this, I think, because we weren't podcasting at the time, but Tyler and I went for just a cheeky little weekend away, just at the last minute. Had not been to Twin Towns before.
You're both members or just one
Yeah,
of you?
totally. And we still got our membership because we got it in January.
Yeah.
So
I've got my membership too. I'm going to make Finny join.
you don't really need to if you've got one.
Oh, he can have his own card, get his own points.
Because you're gonna know to be like, no, I want points on both cards, not just on one. Yeah, fair call. But yeah, it is, it's like it's trashy. It's trashy.
Oh, totally.
It's fun
but
trashy.
That's our kind of trashy. Yeah.
The
totally.
dance floor is insane. Like when we were down there, the medium age was probably about 65.
So we're all going to feel young and beautiful.
Yeah, I know. We will feel like the prettiest girl in school.
It's my 21st tonight, guys.
And they won't even know that we're not 21.
Exactly.
And it was really funny when we were on the dance floor because there was a couple we were watching one band, and they have multiple bands that come on throughout the night. And we had one band and they were playing like all Blink 182, a little bit of Metallica, like some real heavy sort of old school rock, which was really cool. But some of the oldies were getting up and still doing the line dancing, the perfectly choreographed dance moves where they're line dancing and they're swinging each other around and they're 2-stepping and 3-stepping or whatever the fuck you call it. Blink 182's playing. Guys.
Now, do your partner, girl. Ding, 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 ding. Strip the willow, Blink 182.
Yeah, so it's very, very loose. I'm not there for the gambling. I'm not a gambler, you know that. Unless
I'll be having a party, you know that.
I know you'll be poking your face off.
I'll totally be poking my face off. So how's your week been, silly bitch?
My week has been good. The things that I wanted to mention this evening were, first of all, going to Costco tomorrow. Got a cheeky little email to say that my 12-month membership is up at the end of June.
Do you still have a membership? Jesus.
I do. So my dear friend Maz, who
Why didn't you
doesn't
ever
listen to the
fucking take me
podcast,
over the last 12 months?
well, I'm sure I told you I had one.
I mean, I don't have the space for storage of shit, but I would have
that's the
still got a big
problem.
thing of Jelly Bellies.
We're the same. So when we go there, we're like, we would never eat all that. It's not even the space for us. We've got the space, but it's like a packet of 100 of one thing. And it's like, we're not going to eat 100 of those. But I still love the novelty and I love the cafeteria. Yeah. I love the 99-cent hot dogs.
I want to buy a box of Mars.
Yeah. It's really good for getting pet supplies as well.
Yeah.
In bulk, because you're always going to need those. But my friend Maz, again, who doesn't listen to the podcast, she got me a membership for my birthday last year because I got her a membership for her birthday. So she gave it to me like, but I think by the time I went up and got my membership, it was like the end of June or something. So we've been a couple of times. It's just not close enough for us.
Mm.
Like,
That's
it's
a
a bit of a
problem.
mesh to get there.
Like, I don't want to go back to our Vancouver trip, but when we were in Vancouver, the Costco is in the city.
Oh, right.
So it's like literally you could walk there. You'd have to drive, get an Uber home at least, but you could
Did
still,
you
it's
go?
right there. No, because like we didn't
Mm,
have a membership.
mm. What about like the Walmart? And what's the other big one that they
Oh, we
have?
went to Walmart.
Oh, what's that like?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like it's just got everything. There's no fucking sense in the layout. You're walking
Mm.
through knickers and then you've got bacon and then you're walking through wine and then back to
Mm.
knickers and shit like that. And then there's a gun cabinet on the right and then fucking like there's a whole heap of shit just everywhere, but it's just everywhere. But yeah, no, I like a
That's
Walmart.
cool. Yeah, I would love to go. So yeah, look, and I said to Link and his girlfriend during the week, I said, so look, and Link loves Costco, loves Costco.
Yeah,
And they're playing house at the moment,
of course.
with their little, granny flat setting up. I never
Reading the
see him.
ingredients of
Yeah.
everything that's in there.
And so I said to him, do you want to go to Costco on Sunday? He's like, oh my God, yes, we absolutely do. And I haven't really brought him anything for a while because he barely lives at home and I don't cover his food or anything because he pays for it all himself now. So I was like, Mummy will buy you some things.
Nice.
So you just decide what you want and Mummy will spend a little bit of money on you.
Oh.
I said that after it was coming. I didn't say that to entice him and blackmail him into coming.
It's fucked
So
though, like when you get to Costco and you've got your big trolley worth of shit, and then you go to the checkout,
it's like
it's like
$500.
$700. You're like, and I've
And
just
do you
happened to
know
savings.
what the
But it's worth it.
worst
It's
thing
worth it.
is? It is. But the worst thing is that we don't have the booze section up here. So in
Yes.
New South Wales, the booze section is like Wonderland. It
Mm,
has have you been to a booze section at Costco in New South
no.
Wales? Oh my God. It will blow your mind. And they have so many things that you don't get in the normal, bottle shops that we have here. It's like,
Because I got the Kirkland's version of everything, isn't it? Kirkland's is the Costco, isn't it?
oh, yes, but they still have like your massive giant bottles of Grey Goose and
Oh,
Belvedere,
wow.
and you get
So it'd be
like
like duty free shopping, I guess.
yeah, but you get like it's all in bulk. So, like your JD comes in like a 3 liter bottle, like,
Wow.
you know how Tyler
There's no
loves
limits.
JD. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's like, and you get like, I remember when I was on the Central Coast, Mel and her husband had just been, and they got like this massive giant thing of just shots, and it was all different flavored shots, and it was huge. There was like 40 shots, like pre-mixed
Jesus.
shots in there. And they kept trying to make me drink them.
I guess it would have been like fucking paint stripper too.
Yeah. But still, it's the novelty, right?
Yeah, and the price.
That's right. So we're doing that on Saturday. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that we watched the sequel to 365 Days. Now, I think we talked about this last week, but we didn't talk about it on the podcast. So
What's
365
365
Days
days?
is I don't want to say dubbed because it's not dubbed, but part of it is English and part of it is subtitles. But it's like the adult version of 50 Shades of Grey. So if
Mm.
you have ever
Oh,
read the
yeah, yeah,
50
yeah.
Shades of Grey,
Yes, the guy that's
um,
kidnapped a woman, she has to fall in love with him in
the
that year.
360, yeah, he's giving her
Yeah.
365 days because he's been obsessed with her ever since her dad died. It's the storyline.
Is it
It's a lot.
Mafia or something like
He's
that?
mafia. Yes, he's
Yeah.
gorgeous, covered in tattoos.
Nice.
Um, and so there's numerous plot holes in the story, like it really is, but it's basically a whole bunch of beautiful people just having a whole lot of sex with
Oh.
a really cool story behind it. There's guns and fighting and mafia and robberies and murders and all sorts of things. And we watched the first one when it first came out. I think it might have been like 2 or 3 years ago, and quite enjoyed it because I don't really like reading. I put subtitles on everything that I watch in English because my hearing's not so great anymore.
Yeah. I need to get my right ear tested. I really do.
But I don't like reading subtitles when I don't understand the language. I feel like I lose a little bit of context. I know that's
Yeah.
very
Because
uncultured
you're
of
too
me.
busy reading that and you're missing what's going on.
Yeah. But it's a healthy balance. So the mafia guy is Sicilian, I think. Um but he still speaks English, whereas she's Polish. So she chops and changes. When she's with him, she speaks English, but her family come into it and they're in Poland a little bit. So when that happens, she speaks Polish and it's all subtitles. But it's enough
Yeah.
of a mix that it's not too much.
Too annoying. Yeah.
Yes. But the new one that we watched on the weekend has brought in a new love interest. And holy moly, is he a tall drink of water, mate?
Oh, I'm feeling a bit of fucking, what was that show that I liked with Matt Boomer and
Oh,
fucking
yeah. The Travelers.
Fellow
Travelers.
I'm getting a bit of a vibe off that off you now.
Yeah, it was very good. And there's a third one. So basically, from the success of the first one, the 365 days, they produced the second one, and I think it got halted a little bit because of COVID, but they put the second and the third, they pretty much brought them out within 6 months of each other,
Right.
because they'd filmed them all and then they couldn't actually release it because of COVID, and they just went bang bang. So we put the second one on last weekend. Was very good. And we did the trailer of the first one because it was so long ago.
Was it very good, or was it just very satisfying?
I would say a little from column A, a little from column B.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm not just talking from myself. Tyler thoroughly enjoyed it also. It's not a chick flick. It's not just for the women. I'm telling you right now. There is a lot of titties and vagina in that, mate. I'm telling you.
And for that reason, I'm out.
Yeah, it's definitely not for you. It's definitely
for
not for you.
It's not a fellow travelers.
Oh, you'd like the boys in it, I think, definitely.
Oh, there's more than one boy in there.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. The second one's brought a whole new love interest in. He's gorgeous. He's better looking than the first one. The first one's pretty fucking good looking.
Any nudity, male nudity?
Constant male nudity.
You see everything?
You see everything. Oh yeah, okay. It's all on display.
Okay, now
it's
I'm
like
intrigued.
It's like civilized porn for adults that don't like porn with no storyline.
Okay. Now I'm conflicted.
Yeah, I actually think that you should just put it on and just see what I'd love to see if you think that it's as watchable as we think it is.
So it's 365 days got full nudity as well?
Yes, it does.
I'll do that on a hangover. I'll watch it on a hangover.
So they have like lots of characters that come in that are actually really cool. So like the girl who gets he kidnaps her for 365 days and she falls in love with him. So towards the end, they fall in love, yada yada yada, and her best friend comes into it and she's completely hectic. She's insane, and because she's Polish, she's always screaming in Polish, and then she's chopping into English, and she drinks heaps, and they're always smoking and stuff, and she's the best. I love her.
Yeah, I was gonna say she sounds like my kind of gal.
Yeah, and it's got some really good parts that are actually really amusing and really relatable. Anyway, I enjoyed it. Definitely enjoyed the second one. Looking forward to watching the third one on the weekend.
Oh, nice.
Highly recommend it, but not everyone's cup of tea.
Well, no, now that I know that there's full frontal male nudity, I'll give it a crack.
And that they're good looking.
And good looking full frontal male nudity, please.
I mean, it's just on Netflix. You could whack it on for half an hour and just be like, I either like it or I don't. I think it took like not even half an hour for us to both go, this is okay. We're okay with this. And it has that whole mafia backstory, a bit Godfather-y like, his dad's killed in front of his eyes in the beginning, and that causes all this revenge in him, and then he takes over the world and
takes off his pants.
Yeah. Shows his penis.
I'm in.
So there.
Very good.
Have you done How's Your Week been yet?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
I did the Loot TV show, and then your birthday and Eurovision.
Drunk as bitch in school right here.
So we're going to get into our topic for tonight, which is
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Get to the chopper.
Look, there's so many things that I want to talk about, and the more. So this was actually, to be fair, this was your idea. You said to me after the podcast on Friday night last week that you came in and Vinny was watching Running Man. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So I missed the beginning of it, but then I got into bed and watched the rest of it. I was like, fuck, I love this movie.
I've never seen it.
Oh, well, we'll get to that.
Anyway, so then you messaged me and said we should totally do the Running Man at least in the podcast.
No. We should do Arnie movies with the corny fucking lines.
You did. And then I was like, that's a great idea. And then we were trying to find something to watch over the weekend, and we decided to watch The Terminator. Then we decided to watch True Lies. Then we watched Kindergarten Cop.
Oh my God, yeah. It's not a tumor.
I can't wait to get to that part. I'm gonna start with the Terminator. I'm gonna start with a bit of an intro about Arnie first, but there's so many things, and I was actually surprisingly super excited about doing this tonight after refreshing with all the
Yeah.
films. So let's just talk a little bit about Arnold Schwarzenegger first, shall we?
Let's go.
Arnold Alois, I think Alois Schwarzenegger. It's Austrian, so I don't really know how to pronounce it,
Yeah,
but
no,
I'll leave that
neither.
one to listeners at home.
Correct us if you will.
Born July 30th, 1947. He's old as fuck. He's
Wow.
an Austrian
He
and
was
American
2.
actor.
My mum was 2 when he was born.
Oh, there you go. Older than your mummy.
No.
I know. Other way around.
Yeah.
So he's an actor, a businessman, a filmmaker, a former politician, if you were living under a rock, and also former professional bodybuilder, known for his roles in high-profile action movies. He served as the 38th governor of California from 2003 to 2011 and
Was he Republican?
I think it will go, I have a feeling he may have been. I do
Me
talk
too.
about it in a moment. Yes, I'm pretty sure he was. I'll get to that, but I can't really remember actually. I haven't cut and pasted this at all. Maybe just the
Hashtag
intro.
ChatGPT.
Certainly the movies are of my own, research and commentary. He was among Time's 100 most influential people in the world in 2004 and 2007 plus.
Wow.
Schwarzenegger began lifting weights at the age of 15 and won the Mr. Universe title at age 20, and subsequently the Mr. Olympia title 7 times. There was a whole bit on Wiki about Mr. Olympia, but I didn't care enough to research that, so apologies.
Yeah, that's all right. I remember when I was obsessed with Arnie, especially after T2, reading how when he was quite young, his weightlifting involved him going down to the river or something like that and picking up boulders and throwing them, and that's how he was pumping his iron. And I remember watching the documentary on him called Pumping Iron when he was going for Mr. Olympia, and he'd
Oh,
be like,
really?
when he was lifting weights, and when you've done weights and your muscles are like screaming, to him it would be like, it was like an orgasm when there would be like the blood would be pumping through his thing. It was just like an orgasm. But I also think he was on steroids at that time.
Well, there was some stuff, and there's too many things to touch on everything.
There's
really,
lots.
there's
Yeah.
so much. Like his wiki page is just insane. But let's just click, because you've touched on it. Let's just click on the what Mr. Olympia is. God, I have to scroll back fucking heaps because there was a whole section on it. Is the title awarded to the winner of the professional men's bodybuilding contest in the open division. It's an international bodybuilding, so he's won Mr. Olympia 7 times.
Yeah, and I think one of his competitors was that guy who played the Hulk originally, Lee somebody or something like that.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm going to talk about Pumping Iron in a minute. He's widely regarded as one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time and has written many books and articles about it. The Arnold Sports Festival, considered the second most important bodybuilding event after Mr. Olympia, is named after him. He appeared in the bodybuilding documentary Pumping Iron in 1977. That cracks me up. So you're a sportsman from the very beginning, weren't you?
Yes, no, I just liked his body.
After retiring from bodybuilding, he gained worldwide fame as a Hollywood action star with his breakthrough in the sword and sorcery epic
Conan the Barbarian,
which I also haven't seen.
Fuck, I forgot about that. I've seen it, and there's a sequel, Conan the Destroyer, and I used to love it because he was in like a loincloth, and it was very fucking there was some sort of not magical but sort of mystical things about it. There was like a sorceress or some shit like that. Yeah, I used to love that.
See, I don't really find him attractive. The only movie that, and I'll get to this later on, the only movie I've ever found him really attractive in is Kindergarten Cop. All the others I'm like, I like him a lot and I like his films a lot, but I've never really looked at him and gone, oh, he,
it wasn't really his
pumps my nants
face as such. What? Oh, look, there's Linus. I wouldn't say his face was like, oh, he's not an ugly person at all. But like when I was a teenager, and knowing that I would like the male physique. When you saw his physique, it was pretty much just like, whoa.
It's a unique
Daddy.
physique too, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like he has a very unique body.
And he's a
Like
big
there's not
guy.
many people who can look like that.
Yeah.
So obviously Conan the Barbarian was a box office hit, and then with the sequel in 1984, which you just talked
Conan
about, Conan the Destroyer.
Yeah.
After playing the title character in the science fiction film The Terminator in 1984, I was just a wee baby. I was just a little 4-year-old.
I was
I was
only
the
in grade
same age
2.
as my wine. He starred in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. What a fucking film is that?
Fucking, and how often do you get to say that a sequel is better than the original?
Total. The original's still pretty fucking amazing though, but yes, I would agree the sequel is better. And then there were 3 other sequels that he started, but obviously there's way more sequels to the actual Terminator 2. You know, it's not true. What do you call it when it's just a whole series?
Saga.
Yeah. His other successful films included Commando, haven't seen that. The Running Man, haven't seen that.
Wow.
Predator, too scary for me. Total Recall,
God.
seen that a long time ago. True Lies, love it. In addition to comedy films such as Twins, which I'm actually going to put that on my list and make Tyler watch that because I haven't watched it
seen
since I
that
was
in
a kid.
ages, yeah.
And I think Tyler would enjoy it. Kindergarten Cop, one of my all-time favorite films, and Jingle All the Way. He's a founder of the film production company Oak Productions. Obviously, there's way more films than just that. They're just some of his most, memorable or popular ones.
Prominent ones, yeah.
As a registered Republican, Schwarzenegger chaired the President's Council on Physical Fitness, blah, 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 blah. Politics. We know about that. Don't want to keep talking about it. Schwarzenegger was nicknamed, I will touch on the fact that he came in and replaced the governor in 2003 and then was elected on his own merits for the following term in 2006, but then he reached his term limit in 2011 and then returned to acting. That's all I'm going to say about his political career. So he was nicknamed the Austrian Oak in his bodybuilding days, Arnie or Schwartzy during his acting career, and the Governator during his political career.
The Governator, I remember that.
He married Maria Shriver, a niece of President John F. Kennedy in 1986. Which I've got
in my things as well. His ex-wife was Maria Shriver, which is interesting. That's what I was wondering. Is he a Republican because JFK was a Democrat?
Yes.
And obviously a very, very popular Democrat.
I know,
so it's
that
interesting he was able to do that. Like, I don't know how Maria felt.
Yeah.
About it.
Well, they were married for a really long time. So they married in 1986, separated in 2011 after he admitted to having fathered a child with their housemaid in 1997.
And have you seen The Housemaid?
Yeah, totes.
She did well.
Yeah. Their divorce was finalized in 2021. So before we start to have a look at the films, let's cross over to this stupid bitch to talk about one of his more famous sons.
Yeah, so I don't have too much. I had about how he was married to Maria Shriver, niece of JFK, which must have some. Oh no, maybe not. I was going to say something about the Onassis, but that was after JFK. I was
going to say the same thing, but they're not because they're related to JFK.
Yeah.
So she's on the other side. She's not Onassis.
So about his kids, like I know he's got 5 kids, 4 with Maria Shriver, 2 boys, 2 girls. One of his sons, Patrick Schwarzenegger, is in the TV series The Staircase, which I covered in one of our podcasts.
Great show if you haven't seen it, listeners. Great show.
Oh, so good with Colin Firth. Will
totally mess with your mind.
Because it's based on a real story as well. And he was actually really good in it. And he's quite a good looking guy.
He's very good looking, yeah.
A total American boy kind of looking guy, if you know what I mean. And he's probably got a better chance of getting an acting award than his daddy does. So Tom Arnold was definitely a movie star. His acting was not what you'd call fucking faultless.
He played the one character in pretty much everything.
It's not a tumor. And then he's got his other son, Christopher, who I just Googled because I thought that Christopher was the one that got into bodybuilding, but he didn't. So Christopher was quite a little bit of a chubby puppy for a while. He's lost some weight. He's done PhD in psychology and shit like that. Plus, he's got 2 daughters and his son to the maid, Joseph, who is the one who's gone into bodybuilding.
I was going to say, I was pretty sure it was the other son.
Off of Arnold.
Oh, he looks exactly like him.
Exactly like him. So that's all I really had to say.
Well, the other thing that's noteworthy is the fact that his daughter is also married to Chris Pratt, and they have 2 little girls together.
Yes.
And she is stunning, stunningly beautiful girl.
Because he was married to the chick from
the blonde chick.
The House Bunny and Scary Movie.
I want to say that. Erica. Is it Erica?
And she was from the Mum thing, the other Mum TV show or whatever.
Yeah, with Alison Janey was in it.
And she was hilarious.
Erica. It's Erica, isn't it? Erica something.
Scary Movie cast. Have you ever seen The House Bunny? Anna Faris.
Anna Faris, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes. I've seen The House Bunny years ago, but I remember it being funny. Yeah.
It's hilarious. So let's get into his movie. So what's your first movie on?
Okay, so I'm going to do The Terminator.
Good.
And I just want to make one note before I go into the movie. I'm going to talk about the synopsis of the movie that I stole off Wiki, and then I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the film. But have you seen a recent picture of Edward Furlong?
Oh no, I'm going to Google that now. So you're doing T2 or all of them?
I'm just going to do Terminator. So if you're going to do T2, we don't have to touch on it. But if you're not, we'll parlay the Terminator into T2 as well. But I didn't have time to watch T2 this week, so it's not recent in my memory.
I have just seen Edward Furlong.
I know, it's shocking, isn't it? Considering how he was like every girl's wet dream back in fucking 90s.
So can I just say, so let's bundle Terminator 1 and 2 into your...
Agree. Yes. Yeah.
I never really liked Edward Furlong. Even as a gay boy, like in all that thing, I just always thought he looked like a real fucking scumbag type of guy.
Oh, see, I was a bit of a fan, but my friend in high school was obsessed with him. Obsessed. She actually really genuinely believed that they would get married one day. That's how much she was obsessed with him. But yeah, he was a bit of a girl crush situation back when that movie came out. But we'll talk about T2, but let's talk about the Terminator first. Okay. So it's a 1984 American science fiction action film directed by James Cameron, written by Cameron and some other bird. It stars Arnold, of course. He is the Terminator, a cybernetic assassin sent back in time from 2029 to 1984 to kill Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton, whose unborn son will one day
she
save
married to
James Cameron.
Yes.
I have a feeling they might still be married. There was lots of cheating scandals through the years, I think, but I think they might still be together. So whose unborn son will one day save mankind from extinction by Skynet, a hostile artificial intelligence in a post-apocalyptic future. Kyle Reese, also swoon-worthy.
Can I just tell you, she divorced James Cameron in 1999.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so they're not still married. Well, there you go. So Kyle Reese, also swoon-worthy. He was hot. Is a soldier sent back in time to protect Sarah. Yep. So watched it.
She could still give birth to John Connor, the savior of the resistance.
Yeah. Exactly. So watched it this week. Hadn't watched it in a really long time. I've seen Terminator 2 a few times more recently, probably at least 5 or 6 years ago. But hadn't seen the original Terminator since I was probably a kid.
Yeah.
And what a film it is. Like Tyler was saying to me, because he'd watched it recently with someone as well, and saying that the special effects are really shit. I was so caught up in the film that, yes, the robot stuff at the end is a little bit far-fetched in terms of, the graphics and stuff like that. But the whole concept of the film is so clever, I think. Going back in time to kill the mother of the unborn child. I
have some of this in my notes about the films I'm talking about, because mine are both 80s films, is even though, yes, the special effects were not obviously up to par as what they were even 20 years ago. When you watched them originally as a kid and all that stuff, you
Yes.
kind of glaze over that fact. You've seen it all before. It's not like, oh, this is terrible. It's not like the first time you've ever watching it.
Yeah.
Where if you did watch it for the first time, you'd be like, that's terrible. You glaze over that and you sort of just remember the magic and the realness of it.
But even someone who's not that nostalgic about it, because I hadn't seen it since I was a kid and I always liked T2 more.
Yeah.
And Tyler had said to me as it started, the special effects are really bad. Get ready for it. Look, it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
And it's really quite a great film. I loved
Yeah.
every minute of it. I was just like, God, I love this movie. How have I not watched it again in so long? It was so great. And Sarah Connor is so great in it. Like Linda Hamilton, I guess, and Kyle Reese is the character, but Michael Biehn, I don't know what much he's been in since then, but he's really great in it. And then obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Terminator, who plays an excellent part. But
Yeah.
then we'll parlay that into the Terminator 2, where in the first one he's the bad guy. In the second one, he's the
A
good
good guy.
guy.
Yeah. And he's still the same model, the T1000 or whatever it is. Yeah.
I know, but they've reprogrammed him to go back
Yeah.
and look
And
after John Connor.
John. Yeah.
To probably I'd say 15
Yes.
years ago,
Yes.
and I was really
yes.
into that. And they axed it. I think it might have gone for one, maybe two seasons,
Yeah.
but it was really good too. And I introduced Link to the Terminators when he was quite little, and then we watched all the redos of it. Like there was quite a few that came. There's one that has
Yeah.
Christian Bale in it, I think, that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
So now that
I'm not
Tyler
really
and
a
I've
Christian
started,
Bale fan
no,
at all.
look, I don't love him as much as Tyler loves him, but I don't
I think
hate
he's
him.
ick. I just think he's such a real, like as a person in general, and I just don't really like him. There's one where, so I think he did Terminator 1, Terminator 2, then there was Terminator 3, which was the chick Terminator.
Yep.
Then I think they did the Christian Bale ones where, because Christian Bale was John Connor. And then there's, I think it's Terminator Genesis, where Arnie comes back with the chick from Game of Thrones, the Khaleesi.
Yes.
And I quite like that. Vinny and I went to the
Yes.
cinema to see that, and we
And
enjoyed
that
it
has
because
the
there's a lot of
Aussie guy in it.
nostalgia.
The Aussie guy, Jared or Jai something, I think it is.
Oh, yeah. I know.
He's either in Genesis or the sequel to Genesis. Anyway, we're totally going to go on the journey.
Jai Courtney.
Jai Courtney, that's it. Is he Genesis or Genesis the sequel?
He's in Genesis.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. But there's quite a few. I think there might be like 6 or 7 now, all up. So I'm really keen to just keep pushing through, and I would have loved to have seen Terminator 2 this week, so I could, talk about it from fresh in my memory. But
I could talk about Terminator 2 for you if you need. I did a special project on it in Year 9 English.
Well, I really want to hear about your project for English, but before we do, I just want to say the brutality in the Terminator is pretty next level. Not just the fact that he goes through and just shoots them point blank, the 2 Sarah Connors that he gets to before he starts chasing down the real Sarah Connor.
Is that in the first one?
First one. We'll talk about the second one in a minute. I will just finish Terminator 1.
Where he goes through the phone book. And he finds them. Yeah.
Yes. And then
He's
meanwhile,
Kyle
Reese is doing the same thing. He's going through the phone book trying to find her, and he finds her first. And then when he goes to her house, when he actually, so the Terminator's killed the first 2 Sarah Connors, and he's on to the third, and that's the real one. And he goes to the house, and it's her roommate that's there with her boyfriend.
That's
and
right.
he
Yeah.
annihilates them, and that's a really horrible scene. Like what happens to them is really brutal. But I just want to make one mention, because I know we're going to talk about the famous lines and movie lines for Arnie.
Of course, yeah.
But what's the one from Terminator? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, it's not Hasta la Vista, baby. That's T2, isn't it?
That is. No, I'm talking about the one from T2. I don't know
that one.
Shut up, Siri. I mean, Alexa.
Come with me if you want to live.
Come with me if you want to live. That's not T1, is it? Terminator?
Well, it is. So Arnold Schwarzenegger says
Oh,
it in
he doesn't say,
T2,
but
but
the other
Kyle
guy.
Reese says it
Right.
in the first one.
Right.
And I didn't realize that, but he says to her because he starts stalking her and she thinks he's the bad guy and freaks out. And then the Terminator comes on the scene and he takes him out temporarily and then grabs her. And she's already freaked out because she thinks Kyle Reese is the
Yeah.
bad guy. And he just grabs her after she's just seen this Terminator annihilate all these people. And she's running from him and he just grabs her and he's like, come with me if you want to live. And then she's like,
Right.
I guess.
That's a good turnaround for the
Yes, and then in the
second one.
one, it's Arnie
Come
saying
with me if
to
you
the
want to
kid,
live.
"Come with
Yes.
me if you want to live."
I think he says that to Sarah when she's when she's escaping the mental hospital.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It is that part.
There's 256 bones in the human body. That's just one. When she broke the fucking guard's bone. Yeah.
She's a boss in that. Okay. All
Oh,
right.
that's when she becomes the fucking. She goes from this meek fucking heroine, like a, what do you call a princess
Damsel in distress.
Yes, damsel in distress, and then she becomes the fucking boss in
So
T2.
when was the last time you saw the original though?
Look, it was a while ago. I'd say at least 10 years.
If you're going to go and do it again, like I'm going to do,
Vinny would do it.
I would do make sure you do the first one. Anyways, all right, you talk a little bit about Terminator 2 and I'll jump in with my bits and pieces.
So Terminator 2, I remember so I think I was
school project.
Well, as I said, I think I was in grade 9, and I remember being able to somehow get it on videotape. You know, when you dubbed VHS from Blockbuster or wherever, you put the fucking sticky tape over the broken tab, and I was able to AV cord it, AV out, AV in, and record it. And I remember playing it, putting it into
You had a VCR recorder? Oh my God. That was the dream.
Well, you had to have 2 VCRs to do it.
Yes, you had to have we never had 2 VCRs
so you put
to
the
do it.
AV out in one, the audio, the two, red, the white, and the yellow, and then plug it into the in, and then you record it as you played it. So I can't remember what I did. I remember the beginning. How brutal's the beginning, where she has the dream and the fucking nuclear bomb drops or whatever, and the fire blasts her and she's grabbing onto the fucking playground fence and it just burns the fucking skin off her body. And then
how
she wakes
awful
up.
they are to her in the psychiatric ward.
Yes. Yeah. Oh God. And I just remember him on his little motorbike, his little redheaded friend.
Yeah, he's a foster kid.
Yeah, he's with the foster kid, and that's when Arnie gets him because he's playing the pinball pin in the arcade.
Yes,
and Arnie comes in, and that's when the T2000 or whatever it is, the one who could melt, or the body could change into the metal.
Robert Patrick.
Do you remember the fucking effects of that? That was like groundbreaking.
Yeah,
and he's like. He calls up Arnie says to him, call up your foster parents. And he calls him up and he goes, what's your dog's name? And because Arnie's talking in Edward Furlong's voice. And he goes, Max. And he goes, hey, how's Wolfie? Wolfie's just fine, honey. Wolfie's just fine. Your foster parents are dead.
Yeah.
And then it flicks to the guy and he's got his finger in a point through her head.
Through the milk carton.
She just falls over it. Yeah. It was just a great fucking flick.
The second one, but I'm so glad that you put the idea in my head, and I've gone on the Arnie journey this week because it has taken over my life a little bit, and it was totally worth it.
You have to watch the 2 movies that I'm covering.
Okay, all right.
Because you have already said that you haven't done it, and my first point is after I do the synopsis. Have you seen it?
No. So you go now. So we've done Terminator 1 and 2 together. It's your turn.
The thing is, though, because I'm doing the movies, I'm kind of giving away a heap of spoilers. But you're gonna know he comes out in the end anyway, right?
Oh, don't give him away the spoilers.
I kind of have to. Okay, I'll see what I can do. So the first one I'm doing is the Running Man.
So go blank.
I'm doing the Running Man first.
Blank.
And I can't remember what the Running Man's on, but Commando is definitely on Disney. And Running Man is probably on Netflix or something like that. So you've definitely got it. So picture it. It's the year 2019.
Whoa.
America is a totalitarian state where the favorite television program is The Running Man. It's a
Sounds like
game.
Hunger Games.
It's kind of like a game show in which prisoners must run to freedom to avoid a brutal death. Having been made a scapegoat by the government and imprisoned, Ben Richards, Arnold Schwarzenegger, has the opportunity to make it back to the outside again by being a contestant on this deadly show. Although the twisted host, Damien Killian, has no intention of letting him escape. It's actually based on a novel, which I didn't know.
I actually did know that.
And there was a game on the Commodore 64, which I'm pretty fucking sure I had. I know I had it, but it must have been shite because I can't really remember that I had it. But I know I had it because I remember
we had
like
a Commodore 64 too.
Shitty graphics and that.
Did you have the tape deck that you used to
totally
click over for Wonder Boy?
And if you put that tape deck into a normal thing, it just would be like, wow. There's also
Kids
talk of
today, mate, will never know the real challenges,
the struggles, the struggles. There's also talk of a remake happening that's meant to be more truer to the book. Apparently came out in 2021. There was talk of Paramount doing it, but that's all I know. I haven't read the book, so I know no different. Have you seen it? No. So I used to watch The Running Man. That was one that I had on VCR that I recorded, and I watched it over and over again as a child with Matt, with other friends. We just always watch it. There was just one of those it was like kind of fun in the sense it was a game show. It's Arnie, it's his lines, it's fucking awesome. There's so many good quotes from it. So I loved it. He's in a spandex suit, which is always nice to see. You see a lot of his body in it. There's some fucking awesome quotes, as I said, and it's Arnie's heyday where his one-liners were what Arnie was about. As we said earlier, he was never going to get an Academy Award for his acting. So he had his little fucking... So this is more about the movie. So by 2017, the United States has become a totalitarian police state following a worldwide economic collapse. The government pacifies the populace through violent TV shows. Its most popular is The Running Man.
It's exactly like Hunger Games.
A broadcast game show where criminals fight for their lives as runners, fleeing from armed mercenaries that are called stalkers. So it's like a gladiator sort of style thing, to earn a government pardon and a tropical vacation. So if they win, they get pardoned for their crimes and they get sent on this tropical vacation. They have other shows too where people climb that, and like you see at the beginning, they'll have like little snippets of the other shows that they have online where they've got people that are climbing ropes with cash bags on them, but there's a bunch of wild Dobermans at the bottom, like row, 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 trying to get them and shit. And if they fall, they die. It's chaos. Anyhow, Captain Ben Richards, a police helicopter pilot, observes an unarmed food riot in Bakersfield, California. He's ordered by his superiors to open fire, but he refuses because there's so many innocent people down there. They're innocent, unarmed civilians. And so he doesn't do it.
I love your Arnie voice.
But then they shoot him anyway.
Come with me if you want to live.
Get to the chopper. After he refuses to do it, what they do is the media twists it and shows that Richards is actually doing the shooting. So he gets blamed for shooting 60 people and he's sent to a prison labor camp. Long story short, he tries to escape to Hawaii with Amber as his hostage, but she alerts security when they're at the airport. He gets caught, and so do the other two that he escaped with, and they get put in the game show The Running Man. Amber, who was involved in getting him caught, so she's like, no, it's security. This guy is kidnapping me, rah, rah, rah. She sees when they sort of play the promo for him going into The Running Man, they show a clip of him at the airport and they show him shooting all these people and shit like that to make him more of a villain. And she's like, that's not true. That's not true. And she has security passes and shit like that. So she tries to go and investigate to see what really happened when he first got sent to jail. And she figures out that he didn't do anything and it was the other people who had manipulated it, yada, yada, yada. She gets caught and she ends up being in The Running Man as well.
Holy shit.
So it's just a fun adventure of them running through a maze and killing the gladiator things that are sent to kill them, the stalkers. But it's like a proper game show with an audience. It's like Deal or No Deal. A person gets selected, they get to pick their favorite stalker to send in, and who they think will make the next kill and shit like that. And when the stalker does shit like blow shit up or catch someone, they all get these prizes. So you see them, they're like, I picked this person, and then that person goes and causes damage, and they're getting handed all these prizes, and like, oh my god, it's amazing.
Oh my God, it's totally Hunger Games.
when they when they kill someone, they get bigger prizes. It's hilarious. So these are the stalkers, and as I said, it's like a gladiator style heroes that go into the zone to kill the runners. And I have to say some of the things because it's like some of his lines. There's Fireball, who's got a flamethrower and a jetpack. Fireball. There's Dynamo, this guy that's covered in these little fairy light things and uses electricity as his power. And he sings opera as the time. He's like, oh.
How are the special effects?
Not too bad. Like, again, as I said, like, because I know it's 80s.
Desensitized.
You kind of like, yeah,
to it. It's
you're
like,
used to it.
It's not great, but you know, it's what we had at the time.
There's a guy called Sub-Zero who's an ice hockey player, please. Go Canucks, go. And he's got a stick that's like, you know, got a blade on the end of it, and he has bombs for pucks that he shoots around and shit. And then there's Buzzsaw, who's chainsaw as a weapon. They go in one by one usually, and although they die, but one guy from the audience gets selected to come up, and they're like, who do you want to see go in next? Rah, and he's like, oh, I can't choose between Dynamo and Buzzsaw. And the host is like, send them both in. Let's make this challenge easier for you. Send them both in. And the guy loses his shit. He's like, oh my God, both of them. Like, you got to watch it. It's just so corny and terribly 80s. It's brilliant. So yeah, in the end, the two other guys die that Arnie went in with, and Arnie and the chick live. You know that's going to happen.
Yeah, obviously.
These are my favorite quotes from the movie. When Amber gets put into the Running Man zone, she says to Arnie, she goes, me and my big mouth, we should have just taken the trip to Hawaii. And he just replies with, well, I had the shirt for it, but you fucked it up. And then Damien Killian, who's the host of the Running Games, he goes, he picks this old bird out of the audience, like she's one of the contestants, to come up, and he's like, so who do you think's going to make the next two kill? There's still two cracker stalkers out there, Dynamo and Fireball. Who's going to make the next kill? And she's like, oh boy, that's a tough one. And she's like a Betty White type of character. He's like, come on, you can do it. Who do you think? And she goes, okay, I think the next kill will be made by Ben Richards, which is Arnie, because he's killing the fuckers and being the bomb and shit. And he's like, Agnes, Richards is a runner. You got to pick a stalker. And she's like, I could pick whoever I choose. And I choose Ben Richards. That boy's one mean motherfucker. She's like 80-odd. When he kills Buzzsaw, he uses a chainsaw up against him and goes through the crotch and cutting him up in half and shit like that.
Oh, damn.
And Amber, the chick who's been put in there with him, she's like, what happened to Buzzsaw? And he's like, he had to split. When he kills Dynamo, the opera singer fucking electric guy, he strangles him with barbed wire. And someone says to him, oh, what happened to Dynamo? And it's like, oh yeah, he was a real pain in the neck. When he kills Fireball, he rips his fuel line, and Fireball's like, my gas line, go to commercial. And Ben Richards lights a flare and throws it at him, and he's like, how about a light? And Fireball screams and explodes, and he goes, what a hothead. When he kills Sub-Zero, he calls out to the host, who's Killian. He's like, Killian, here is your Sub-Zero. Now, plain zero. So I think that was kind of one of the parts of Arnie's career where his one lines,
they just fed him the lines. That was his whole thing. He was either beating someone up or doing action moves or doing one-liners.
Exactly.
That's all he was capable of.
I should also say, as you said, like with the Running Man, after the last recording, I went into bed and Vinny was watching it, jumped in, and I hadn't seen it, I would say, for 20 years. But like everything that was happening, come to me, my love, and all this shit, the quotes that were happening, you could just recite expertly, you know what I mean? It was such a good movie.
Well, that's going to lead into my next one.
So watch it.
I will. I'm totally on the Arnie journey right now.
Kylie will love it.
So that's going to lead into my next one. So my second one, I will do three. There's another one that I want to just touch on briefly at the end, but my second one is Kindergarten Cop. Now, Tyler can't believe this is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's up there, like it's probably in my top 20 of favorite movies of all time. He says it's so unlike me to love a movie like this. But you know, when you grow up with something, I think
there's a sense of
that,
nostalgia.
yeah, well, but even when I watched it last night and I didn't get to finish it, so it got to 11 o'clock and I had a really early start this morning at work. So it got to 11 o'clock. I was like, I have to go to bed. I can't keep watching it. And I was right at the crux of where it gets really good as well. But for the first hour of it, I was just wetting myself, and Tyler just kept like looking, and he enjoys it because we had watched it probably about 3 or 4 years ago. It was a movie that I showed him, and I made him watch it, and he loved it. But he was just like looking at me, and again, when you know a movie so well, and whilst it's still been about 3 or 4 years since I've seen it, you anticipate the scenes that you love and you anticipate the lines that they're going to say. And I kept saying to Tyler, this is a good bit. This is a good bit. Pay attention.
Yeah.
Get off your phone. This is a good bit.
Well, we've seen things in the past, like on social media and shit, where it talks about how when you love a TV series, then you can just watch it over and over. Gilmore Girls for you, Will and Grace for me, because you know what's going to happen. There's a sense of security in that. Yeah,
that's it.
I haven't seen Kindergarten Cop, I would say, in 25 years.
Oh, look, it is so good. I love it so much. I do think that this is the role where he shows the most character,
diversity
at all, and he's still very much he breaks his usual mold, even if it is just slightly, but he still has a bit more, especially after watching. So I watched Terminator 1, then I watched True Lies, which I'm going to touch on in a minute after this one, after your next one. And then Kindergarten Cop was the last one that I watched. But after watching the three of them back to back, I was like, this is the one that I think he actually tries acting a lot more and has a different sort of character. I want to say that I love all the actors in this film. It is just so good, and I can't wait to go through the one-liners, but I'm going to leave that for a little bit. So I'm going to just talk about the synopsis of what the film is about, right?
Yeah, good, because I can't really remember. I remember he becomes a kindergarten teacher as an undercover cop for some reason.
You have to rewatch it. You have to. So
I remember loving it as a teenager or a young teenager.
Yeah, it's so good. So Kindergarten Cop is a 1990 American action comedy film directed by Ivan Reitman. He's done so many. He did Ghostbusters. He's just, in everything. Arnold Schwarzenegger stars as John Kimball. Love that name. Out of all the characters that he's in, John Kimball is like one of my favorite all-time names. He's a tough police detective working undercover as a kindergarten teacher to locate the wife and child of drug dealer Cullen Crisp, who are living under assumed identities. The original, I'm not going to talk about that. The film was released in the United States on December 21, 1990, and grossed $91 million worldwide.
1990, was it?
1990, yeah, but it grossed 91 million.
Yeah, 13.
Critical reception was mixed, though Schwarzenegger earned high marks for expanding into comedy films after his early work in action adventure productions. There's still lots of action in it, and it's
a bit more lighthearted than.
There's a lot more comedy, and the comedy is my favorite fucking part of it
because it's kids as well. Like, kids say the darndest things. Yeah.
Oh, and it's so well done. And so that's the actual synopsis, but how it starts is where he is the tough cop and he's out there trying to catch this guy. And the guy that he's trying to catch is a really bad dude. And then so what happens next is that he goes in. He's finally caught this dude. He's been tracking him for years and years and years. It's like his nemesis, and he's trying to catch him. He finally gets him on this murder of this sort of drug dealer type guy, and he's got a witness. And he goes in, and they've dragged the witness in, and she's this, sex worker. And they drag her in. She's high as a kite, and she's witnessed the murder, but she doesn't want to be there. She just wants to get back to her life, and she doesn't want to get involved and whatever. And so that introduces his new partner, which is Phoebe O'Hara, and she's the mum from Parks and Recs. She plays Leslie's mum in Parks and Recs for anyone who's a fan. And so the whole thing is that they've finally got a lead. So how it starts is that this guy, this drug addict, he goes in and he meets with this bad guy, right? So this guy's called Crisp, and he's finally got a lead on his wife and his baby son. Well, she ran off with the baby son when he was a baby, and the son's like, supposed to be like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And so this guy's like, I've got some information about your wife. I saw her. And he's like, well, tell me everything that you know. And he has a real, like, genuine lead on the wife. So he tells her all the information, and Chris turns around and just kills him. And his girlfriend's in the background, and she witnesses the whole thing, but he doesn't know that she's there. John Kimball, right. Arnold Schwarzenegger, is tracking him through the whole thing and just misses the murder, but knows, and it's in a shopping center, and knows what Crisp has done. So he goes up and he finds the dead body. He finds the girl next to it, handcuffs her to the dead body because she's like, oh my God, I can't deal with this. I'm going to take off. Then goes and arrests Crisp, right? So then they go to the station. That's all good. The girlfriend doesn't want to testify. They have nothing to hold her on because she's not associated. So they have to let her go. And then Phoebe O'Hara is the character. And she's like, oh, she has to be his new partner. And then because they've got a lead on where the wife is and they've got this potential witness, they decide they're going to go undercover at the school where they think that the child, and
he's got to figure out who the child is, doesn't he?
Yes, and the wife, because they have one photo and it's a side profile.
Yeah.
And her face is all blurred, and they have one baby picture, and he's not a baby anymore.
What was it on? Kindergarten Cop, do you remember?
It was on Foxtel.
Okay.
Watched on Fox. So then he's got this new partner. He's used to working all alone. The partner is one of the best characters ever. Love her to death. She's so good. And she loves to eat. She's this tiny little pocket rocket, and she's always eating while she's talking to him. She's getting shit from vending machines. And he's like, I've never seen someone so small eat so much. And she's like, I'm hyperglycemic. I have to eat like every hour. Otherwise I just, and he's like, whatever. Anyway, so they get on the plane. And they're flying to Oregon because this is the lead where they know the school because the guy who he kills, the bad guy kills, he actually saw them out the front of a school. So they know that it's this school, but they just don't know who it is. Yeah. So Phoebe O'Hara is going to be the substitute teacher. And before she was a police officer, she was a teacher.
That's right.
So she's going into kindergarten, and that's totally what's going to happen. Anyway, so they're on the plane. They're going through all the facts. They're going to be a married couple. That's their, undercover ID and stuff like that. And she starts feeling sick. And the next thing, she's spewing her guts up in the toilet, and she's got terrible food poisoning. And the bit where they go from the airport to the hotel is one of the most funniest parts ever, because she keeps insisting that she's going to be okay. And then in the end, he pulls over on the side of the road, and she's spewing in the bushes. She walks back from the bushes. She falls over and is just like, she can't move, and he's just picking her up. And then there's more scenes as they get closer and closer towards the hotel where he's just like holding her over a bridge and just like picking her up. And she's this tiny woman, and he's just like just got his arm underneath her, and her legs are dragging because she's so ill, right? Because she just eats crap all the time. And then they get back to the hotel, and she's like, she wakes up in the morning. She's like, it's cool. Just give me a couple more minutes and I'm going to be fine. She's clearly really, really sick. And then she turns around, and he's dressed in a suit, and he's ready to go because there's no way she can go and be the undercover teacher. He has to go in her place. And that's pretty much how it starts. And then the kids just eat him alive, completely eat him alive. And that's pretty much the premise. But the one-liners from everyone in the film are just the best. And I was crying, laughing last night. I didn't even finish it. And Tyler just kept looking at me like, it's funny, but it's not as funny as you think it is. Like, and I was just wetting myself.
But it is.
And then there's also the part, I don't know if you remember this. So Crisp is the bad guy, and he's got the ponytail. I don't know if you remember, he's got the ponytail. He looks really slick. He's really disgusting, but his mother is there the whole time. But his mother's she's a really psycho bitch as well. And there's other things that happen in the film that she does is really, and it's very brutal. Like in the first, 15 minutes before they even get to the school, the brutality is next level. And I said to Tyler, I said, geez, it's a really full on, like, brutal film, isn't it, for something that's all about the kids and it's supposed to be funny?
Yeah. Well, it was still an action film, wasn't it? Really,
It
action
was.
comedy. Yeah.
And there's heaps more violent parts that happen throughout it, that is sort of like scattered throughout. But there's so many funny parts, and I've got a whole list of my favorite quotes from the film. And funnily enough, when I searched them, when he's like, oh, what's wrong? He's like, oh, I've just got a headache. It's a tumor. It's probably a tumor. It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
That wasn't in the list of the things.
Really? Because that was like one of the most famous lines.
I know.
I remember another one.
I know. I'm going to get to that. I know the one that you're talking about. But so when they're on the plane,
from the kid that was in a lot of movies.
Yes, and he's so funny in it. The size of him, he is like tinsy tiny against all these other kindergartners. Looks like a little doll, and he's running along, and Arnie keeps having to pick him up because he's so far behind all the other kids because he's so tiny. And we'll just say it because it will give it context. Yeah. And his dad's a gynecologist, and he's like, right. Boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. Yeah. And all the kids wet themselves laughing. But when they're on the plane, just before she starts to get sick, and because she's used to dealing with children because she used to be a teacher, she's a little bit more tolerant than him. And there's these 3 boys sitting in the 3 seats behind him, and they're full wrestling, and they keep like running the trucks and their toys on the top of his seat, and he keeps like looking back and like freaking out. And then he turns around and he's like, if you don't stop screwing around back there, this is what I'm going to do with you. And then just cracks a pencil in front of them. And all the kids are like, but also the other one is like when it first starts and on his very first day. So he rocks up, and the principal is also a very, very tiny woman. She's this little old woman, and there's nothing to her. She's like a third of the size of a normal person. She's so tiny. And she knows that they're undercover police. She's the only one in the school that knows. Yes. But she doesn't like it, and she's not okay with it. And then she's expecting Phoebe to come in. And then when John Kimball shows up, she's pissed off because she's like, this isn't what I'm not even happy about this at all. And now you're coming in. Do you even have any teaching experience? And he's like, eh. And then, so when on his very first day, the little girl and all the kids are so adorable too, and that's what makes it. And there's a little girl, and she's always wearing a jumpsuit with buckles, and she's like, I need to go to the bathroom. And he's like, okay, well, you've got permission, go to the bathroom. And then she comes back home, and she's like, I need to go to the bathroom, but I can't get out of these. And he's like, she's got buckles. And then he takes her to the teacher across the room. And so the chick who ends up taking the little girl to the bathroom, she turns around and she goes, kindergarten is like the ocean. You don't ever want to turn your back on it. And then he's like, it's okay. It's like they're 6-year-olds. It's nothing I can't handle. And then he opens the door, and they're all just fucking going absolutely hectic and just like going psycho. Another one is, so like in the beginning when they have the witness and they drag her and he handcuffs her to the dead body of her boyfriend and she's trying to get away. They drag her into the police station. They have to let her go because she doesn't want to go. And then Phoebe, the chick who's the new one, she's like talking to her saying, look, I'll buy you dinner. I'll do anything to get you to just do this witness statement. She's like, nah, I want out. And then he sort of gives a shit, and she's like, well, what are you going to do? Like chain her up and force her? And he's like, So then he goes and finds where she is and does a similar thing like Terminator 2. Like, I like my car very much. And it's all like these drug dealers hanging around, and they're like, no. And he's got like a big fucking barreled shotgun. Yeah. And then he goes in and shoots the whole place up, and there's the chick on a couch with this dude, and he's like, I'm the party pooper. And then he goes to her, and he sits next to her, and she's like, you're insane. I'm not doing anything you say. And he's like, I have no time. I don't do anything. I have no life. I'm going to be next to you every day, every minute, every holiday, every Christmas, blah, blah, blah. And in the end, she's like, fine, I'll go, because she knows he's like totally going to fuck with her if she doesn't. So she ends up making the witness statement, but I'm not going to say anything more about that because that also goes very pear-shaped. So Phoebe starts feeling better, and she comes good and she starts eating again, everything. And then he starts getting really snappy with her. And she's like, what's the deal? And then he sits down. He's like, they're walking all over me. They're pushing me around. And she's like, you need to treat it like police work. Never show fear. And he's like, they're
right,
6-year-olds. And like when he first walks out in the outfit, and she's like, maybe lose the gun, because he's like in his substitute teacher outfit. And he's like, okay, good idea. And then he takes it off and he's like, how hard it can be. They're 6-year-old. And she's like, on second thoughts, take the gun.
Keep the gun.
And then the best one is the psycho mother of the bad guy at the end. She comes in and then runs over Phoebe with her car and like fully annihilates her, fucks her up. And they're trying, like, this is right at the end where it's all going to shit. And then she's just about to kill John Kimball because she's got a gun. She just goes to shoot him, and Phoebe rocks up with a baseball bat, fucking clocks her in the head. And she's like, not so tough with your car now, are ya?
Is there some scene as well where there's a kid who's getting abused?
Yes, that's also an excellent scene.
Yeah.
He thinks it might be Crisp's son, and is trying to talk to the mum, and the mum keeps taking off, and then he finally pins her down, and she's like, I know what you want to talk to me about. This is really embarrassing. You've obviously seen the bruises on Zach's legs. And he's like, though. He hadn't. He thought she might be the connection. And then he says, if I see him again, I'm going to press charges. And then she's like getting all hoity-toity. And then they come back, and then he beats the shit out of him because he's beat the kid again. And then that's when the teacher comes back, and she's like, hang on, where's the thing? What did it feel like to hit that son of a bitch? Son of a bitch.
Yes, that's right.
She hates him up until that point because she doesn't want him in the school because she's worried that he's endangering her kids. And then when he beats the shit out of him. Sorry, listeners. I do feel like I've been a little bit rambly throughout this. Obviously, my passion for the film has come across.
I can't wait to watch it again. I really want to watch it.
I can't wait to have a shower after this and get into bed and finish it, because I'm just right up to the really good bit. Oh, and there's the other bit where on his first day, and the little kid comes up, and he's the cutest little kid ever. And he comes up and he's like, the teacher before, Mrs. Hoskins, he's like, Mrs. Hoskins is our teacher, and she's better at you than this. And my mum's also a teacher in this school,
and she's better than you
at this. And I have a lady who comes and sits with me. We call her Mrs. Smith, and she tutors me when my mum goes out on a Monday night. She's better than you at this. And I have a swim coach and a t-ball coach, and they're better than you at this. And he's like, is there anyone that isn't better than me? And he's like, I don't know that many people.
Yeah, I don't know that many people. Remember that.
But there's heaps more zingers. Like that whole bit where she's sick is the best. It is so funny. I was crying the whole way through, and I kept saying, watch it, Tyler. Watch it. He's like, I'm watching it.
Yeah, but you're not watching it properly.
I'm not, but you're not laughing. He's like, I am laughing inside.
And I remember at the end too, when he leaves, they're all devastated, though, aren't they? Like, no. And you thought there was going to be a sequel.
Yeah. You did think it was going to be a sequel. Yeah, it's such a great film. I love it so much. Okay, your turn.
Okay, so I'm going to do Commando as my next one, because I also loved this just as equally at that same time in my life when I loved Running Man. And anytime, I remember when it came, I think I had more knowledge about the Running Man because I had it on VCR, but I remember when this would come on TV, it was just such a great fucking movie. So the synopsis: a retired special agent named John Matrix, Arnie, led an elite unit and has left the armed forces to live in a secluded mountain home with his daughter Jenny.
P.S. John Kimball's better. Oh, Alyssa Milano's in it. No way.
She's about 10. But now he is forced out of retirement when his daughter is kidnapped by a band of thugs intent on revenge. Unbeknownst to Matrix, the members of his former unit are being killed one by one. even though Matrix's friend, General Franklin Kirby, gives Matrix armed guards so his friends are getting shot off one by one that are in the same unit. So he comes and gives him armed guards. The attackers manage to kidnap Jenny. So they turn up. So he turns up, this guy Kirby, who's like his big boss, turns up to his house. It's like, oh, your people in your unit are dying one by one, including his best friend Bennett. Watch out, basically. But as he does that, Kirby leaves, and then the armed people shout up and shoot out the armed guards, kill them, and then kidnap Jenny. Matrix learns that a warlord called Arius, who's the dad from Clueless.
No.
Yeah, he's a warlord in this, wishes to lead a military coup.
Oh, to be a warlord.
I know. And he
What
wants to
must
lead...
that consist of?
He wants to lead a military coup in his home country and restore himself to power. And if Matrix refuses to help him out, Jenny will die again. Have you seen it? No. So it's a classic 80s film where the sound effects of the bomb, like when they're in a fight. A punch is with a bam, bow, that type of shit. Watching the movie. So we watched it last night because I knew I was doing Commando because I love the movie. So we watched it last night so I could get familiar with it again. And it's like another world. It's like the 80s. And there's a one scene in it where one of the bad guys has to call the big boss to say that Arnie's escaped and rah, 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 but he has to mug a chick for a quarter so he can go and use the payphone to call the big boss. You know, it's like send a text or mobile phone or anything like that. It's like, give me a quarter. And he goes into a payphone booth that's sort of, you know, it's just really...
like Terminator going through the phone book looking up Sarah Connor.
100%. When I used to watch it as a child, I wanted John Matrix to be my dad, and I wanted to be the kid that he was rescuing. Like I remember having that fantasy as a child. I wish I was Jenny.
Before you continue, did it so how long has it been since you've seen it?
Oh, since I'd seen Commando, I would say fucking 30 years.
So did it hold up like Terminator 1 did for me?
It holds up. There's one part in it that's a bit fucking cringe, but like in general, if you can look beyond the special effects and a couple of little plot holes, it's still a decent movie to watch.
Yeah,
like it's just an action-packed type of show, you know what I mean?
Which is all Arnie's about. He's all about the action.
And there's the one
He's all about using his muscles.
Exactly. And you get to see him in a pair of Speedos and stuff like that. So there's all of that, but it's like if you can look beyond that and you can still have fun. It's a decent movie. But yeah, there's a lot of it's just like, huh? Why would they do that? I don't understand.
It's like all of his films. I was like in Kindergarten Cop, I was like, what school would let an undercover police person go in to try to find a witness and let them teach kids? That doesn't really happen in real life, right?
Exactly. Not today.
Are my kids in danger? No, they're not in danger at all. They were in the fucking end. They nearly got burned alive.
It's funny you ask that because my next point is, besides the retro vibe, it's aged pretty well. Like for our generation anyways, who can get over the crappy special effects and sound effects. There's a scene where he goes to the mall and like, we don't call them a mall here. Meet me behind the mall.
It's got a shopping center, people. A shopping center.
I don't think the malls are
central,
as
if you will,
big as they used to be in the 80s and that in the 90s in America anymore. But like they had restaurants and all this shit, and there's floors of it. So there's this huge mall scene and stuff, and it's pretty cool. Arnie,
all his movies are in malls, man. There's always a mall in his movies. Always.
That's what Taylor Swift's like. Meet me behind the mall.
Meet me behind Central Park.
Meet me behind the tuck shop. So Arnie / Matrix and Jenny, this is how it starts. They're at home and they're living an idyllic life. in a big house in the hills. You see them walking around and loving life, eating ice cream and bopping it on each other's noses and stuff like that at the beginning. It's this whole cut scene, and like feeding a deer and shit like that. He's carrying this tree in the first scene. He's carrying like literally a tree that's been cut off at the top and bottom on his shoulder, cutting it up, using it as firewood and shit like that.
Excuse me, he's like the world bodybuilder of his time for 7
Mr.
years.
Olympia, please. There's this thing that they've done on YouTube, and I have to show you before we finish up this segment. Well, after we finish up the podcast, but I have to show you, and it's called Jenny and Me Commando. Someone's made a musical that goes for like 2 minutes about the intro of Commando, and it's called Jenny and Me because his daughter's name's Jenny. It's like, putting ice cream on each other's noses. something, Jenny and me. And they're singing it in his voice and shit, like feeding deer in random places. You know, it's like Jenny and me. I have to show you it. It's fucking hilarious. It's cheesy as fuck. You don't actually know what happens to the mother. There's no mother in the scene. And they don't explain it in the movie. She's just not there. But apparently in the
clearly she left, okay? She either died or she left.
Well, in the director's cut, it's explained that she died at childbirth, but I had to Google that today to find out where the fuck was the mother, because you don't get any answers where she is. Fellow soldiers get killed, including Bennett at the beginning, or his friends get
Best
shot.
friend, yeah.
His friend and former military colleagues dead. And then there's Bennett, who's an Aussie in the movie and has the most fucking Aussie accent ever, but he's a true Aussie. His name, and he says things like, John, it's good to see you, John. I'll be waiting, John. John, I'll be waiting. There's some cringe, but it's great. So after the shootout at Arnie's house, and after Kirby leaves, he finds out that the soldiers want Arnie, so they've kidnapped Jenny, and he finds out that by this guy that stayed at the house, he's like, so this is a deal. We want you to kill this new president that's taken over from the dictator, which was the clueless guy, the clueless dad's guy. Where is that? We want you to kill the new president who's taken over from the dictator because Arnie was close with the president and can get close enough to kill him. Lols. So when he finds out that Bennett is alive, he's like, Bennett, and he's like, you thought I was dead. And he's like, why are you doing this? Because they offered me $100,000. And we're like, Vinny and I looked at each other and laughed. I'm like, $100,000, totally not worth it. Especially, like, you know, you want $1 million at that point. And he's rotten.
You want 20 million in this day and age
exactly.
to kill a president.
It's like, because they gave me $100,000. But when I found out that you were involved, I said I'd do it for free. That's what he says. So what happens is they've set up this whole thing that Arnie's got to kill this president. They got this whole network sorted out. They put him on a plane with this dude who's watching over him, and they're going to fly the plane into the country in Latin America where the country is a dictator wants the president killed. And then he's got to get out the plane, kill the dude, rah, rah, rah. If he doesn't do it, we're going to kill your daughter and mail her back in pieces. So he gets
on Alyssa Milano.
And she wasn't even in Hey Dad. I mean, who's the boss at that point? So he gets on the plane.
Long time before she was on Charmed.
Exactly. Anyway. So he gets on the plane with the guy that's watching over him, but he escapes the plane. So he kills the guy next to him, but we'll get to that. Kills the guy next to him, breaks his neck. He escapes the plane as it's taking off by breaking into the cargo hold, getting down onto the wheel, holding onto the wheel as the plane's taking off and throwing himself into the swamp. It's very realistic. Then he goes on a mission to find the other guys and get info on where his daughter is at and kill them along the way. He meets this chick called Cindy at the airport who's getting a pilot's license, please.
There's always a chick, isn't there?
There's always a chick. And this one is, and he gets her to help him. And she's actually hilarious. And I forgot until I watched it last night how much I love this chick and how much of a comic relief she actually is throughout the movie. She's very, very, very funny, I find. there's a part where they break into this armory shop thing and they have to get all these guns, and they also steal a rocket launcher. And the police come and get Arnie because the place has been broken into, the alarm's going off. And she's still in the car out the front waiting for him, and she's got some of the weapons. And as the police drive past her in the van, they pull up at the red light. She's at the red light in this little car with some of the weapons in there, and the police van pulls up next to her, and they look at her over the side of her, and it's like, "Hey, how you doing?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm good." And then they drive off, and Arnie's in the back. And as they drive off, she gets up out of it's like a little convertible Porsche type thing. She gets up out of the chair, and the guy says something like, "Oh, it looks like she wants a piece of us, or it looks like she's got something for us." And then she pulls up this big rocket launcher and she shoots it, but she's got it backwards, and the rocket launcher goes firing into backwards and hits something there. And she's like, "Oh shit." She turns it around again, and they're like, "Oh fuck." And then she shoots it and blows the car over, and Arnie gets out. It's hilarious when you watch it. Then it's basically just a journey to get to the country where Jenny is. Cindy flies a little water plane on the way to help him get there. And she calls it, I don't know how to fly this. It's a canoe with wings. And somehow they actually get to the country before the plane that he was initially on arrives. So even though he's jumped out of the swamp and all this shit, he's done all this stuff, this big fucking
plot hole
787 or whatever it is fucking then landing, but they're already there. And I also have plot hole. He gets in, of course, saves the day and his daughter when they get out and walk along the beach. Cindy gets out of the plane and hugs Jenny, who she's never met. And I think they just become one big happy family after that. It's really cool.
Aww.
So these are some of the quotes. And so when when I told you he gets on the plane with the chaperone and right before takeoff, it's this dude and he breaks his neck and he pulls the hat over his head. So it looks like he's just laying there sleeping. And he gets up to go to the loo, and the steward is like, "Sir, we're about to take off." And he's like, "I'm very gassy." And so he goes to the toilet. "Oh, and do me a favor. Don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired."
I saw that when I was researching all of Arnie's quotes. There was heaps from The Running Man and there was heaps from Commando, and I didn't understand the context, but I remember seeing the dead time. And there was heaps from Batman and Robin too when he played Mr.
Oh,
Freeze.
Mr. Freeze. There's a freeze coming. That was terrible. I have never seen, I've owned that video and I've still never watched it from start to finish. I just cannot.
Oh, really? See, I loved all the Batman and Robins.
I liked all the
them.
Batman movies. Batman Returns, Batman Forever. Batman and Robin was terrible. So when he's at the mall and that guy robs a quarter off of Cindy and shit, she tells this security guard, "There's this guy out there. He's making me do all this shit. Rah rah rah. He's got brown hair. Yada yada yada." And so the police officer sees him and he's like, "Attention all units. Emergency on theater level. Suspect, 6'2", brown hair. He's one gigantic motherfucker." And then this is one of Cindy's quotes, which I fucking love. She goes, "Can you tell me what this is all about?" John Matrix, "Yeah, a guy I trusted for years wants me dead." Cindy, "That's understandable. I've only known you for 5 minutes and I want you dead too." Have you ever seen Temple of Doom? Indiana Jones?
Oh, yeah, but not for years.
She reminds me of the blonde chick that's in Temple of Doom. You know, how funny she was, even though she was like this sort of damsel in distress type of figure.
It's hard to say. Tyler actually wanted me to go on that journey the other week, and I was ready for it, but we picked something else instead. I could totally do that.
She's hilarious. She's fucking hilarious. Another one of Cindy. So as they're driving away, and this is after, I think this is after the mall thing, when she realizes he's actually good, and she runs out. He goes speeding out in the car, and she goes, "Stop!" And she jumps in the car. She realizes there's shit going on. She goes, she's driving along and she goes,
similar themes to The Running Man, where she thought he was bad, but then she realized he was good.
100%. So she goes, "You steal my car, you rip the seat out," because he couldn't fit in the car, so he had to rip the seat out and sit in the back seat while he drives. "You steal my car, you rip the seat out, you kidnap me, you ask me to help you find your daughter, which I very kindly do, and then you get me involved in a shootout where people are dying and there's blood spurting out all over the place, and then I watch you rip a phone booth out of the wall, swing from the ceiling like Tarzan, and then there's a cop that's going to shoot you and I save you, and they start chasing me, and are you going to tell me what's going on or what?" And he just goes, "No."
That's That's you, Vinny.
No. There's this one where he's got this one bad guy. And so he's caught up with this bad guy, Sully, and he's holding him by his leg over this cliff, trying to get information out of him. And he goes, remember Sully? So he's asking him all these questions, and Sully's giving him shit and all this shit. And he holds him out and he goes, remember, Sully, when I promised to kill you last? And Sully's like, that's
I
right,
lied.
Matrix, you did. And he goes, I
lied.
lied. And then he releases Sully, who falls to his demise. And then he goes
saw
back
that
to
when
the
I was
car.
looking at the quotes.
And Cindy goes, what'd you do with Sully? And he goes, I let him go. And then at the very end of the movie, after he's done the whole fucking thing where he's gone and rescued his daughter Jenny and blown up all this shit, and the cavalry finally arrives. There's like helicopters and all this shit that land, and all these soldiers arrive at the place right at the moment that he's actually saved the day. And Major Colonel Kirby comes up to him and goes, leave anything for us? And he goes, just the bodies. So watch Commando. It's very, very
I'm
good.
gonna do Running Man first. I'm super keen for Running Man.
And do Commando. That's on Disney.
I will, but I want to do the Terminator first, but you have to promise me you'll do Kindergarten Cop.
I will.
Do it this weekend.
Okay, well, we've got a 3-dayer.
I totally want to hear if you think it is as good as I think it is, because Tyler's just like, it's good, but you love it at an unreasonable level.
I think I'm going to enjoy it.
Because he's like, I just can't believe that you love this movie that much. I'm like, I love this movie. Love it.
I think I'm going to very much enjoy it because it had such nostalgia for me too. I loved it.
It's such a great film. Okay, so we're going to close it out. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of podcast. Yes, we got a little bit rambly because we are very passionate, clearly, about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and we didn't realize just how passionate we were until we started watching his movies. So, shock, surprise, surprise. And we're also very drunk. So, I'm not going to apologize because you guys love that. But thanks for listening.
Tune in next week.
Tune in next week. For another true crime episode of Anywhere We Want to
Do. And I've got to
in the
pick,
world.
because we're recording that next Friday. We're doing fucking like 3 double bangers in a row. But then we're halfway through the season.
I know.
So I've got to figure out who the fuck I'm going to do.
I know. It was hard actually for me to find the Lululemon one. I was like, what am I going to do? But I found it in the end. Anyway, cut that out too. Good night, stupid bitches.
Good night. Yeah, that stupid bitch. He's a stupid bitch. What a stupid bitch. That stupid bitch.